into October 2024 with the Lovelocks of Sunninghill. Rough cut photo trails. And as I always say, they will be rough cuts. This is where we live at 22 Armitage Court in Sunninghill, with warning signs about fierce guard cats. This spot was known as Robin's Corner for a few years after testing with GPS back from the late 1980s. And that's the garden sculpture that June gave Robin a few years ago for birthday. Here's the oak tree that sprung up from an acorn, and yes, that was intended for owls, but it's only guard cats that have taken an interest in it. And here's the robot boat on 24/7 test, and I'll give a bit more about that. But this video has got lots of purposes. Some of my friends around the world are interested in Snoopy's robot boat to attempt to sail the Atlantic, and the first attempt was in 2012, but enough talking about that from me. Other purposes of the videos, the photo trails, are guys who may want to help us with, you might call it property maintenance. When you look at the house and the garden, particularly the back garden, you see there's a lot of work needed doing. Sorry about all that traffic, very noisy out here. Now, first about the robot boat. Now, this introduction is being shot on the middle of the afternoon on Friday, is it the 4th of October? Because there'll be other things happening today, but it seems a good opportunity, and quite a lot happened just today. Now, the robot boat, the latest information on that is the power system based on duplicated power seems to be working well. The problem is, or has been, simply that it didn't get enough sunlight, and up until today there's hardly been any sun. It's mostly cloud, but of course we got this big oak tree, so when the sun comes across the sky from over there, it's rarely getting full sunlight. So right now the sun is behind those trees. Well, there is a bit, it's a bit hazy. So again, lots of talking, but it's often shown better on the photo trails. And so that's Snoopy the Viking, and the so-called blog 11 of the Snoopy robot boat pages has the latest information. So, oh, that's the QR code, by the way, to go to the Snoopy page. Right, now what I'll probably do here is cut into clips of video, that most of which were shot within the last few days, and so one of them shows you what's going on inside Snoopy's robot boat. Beware guard cat on patrol. Well, this one is Bentley. He's the senior guard cat, and he's been training, yes, that's right, Bentley. He's been training Toady since Toady was an infant. Yes, I may as well put these out as well. Armed mice. You'll see lots of things where I'm making jokes, but you can never be sure whether they're true or not. Right. Hello, Toady. Have you got any opinions? You may want to help testing of the boat. Now, just for this filming, I took the lid off, the electronics and other bits and pieces, and put on this text-to-speech unit, and this was just for shooting this clip, and hopefully we won't get any rain in the next few minutes. So what I'll do is I'll switch on this, and it'll go through a startup of waggling the rudder first of all, and then speaking through the text-to-speech.
Snoopy's X28 X2 GPS only autopilot. Software version Romeo. Last update 6th of December 2017.
6th of December 2017.
45 seconds. Target Alpha. 11 kilometers. at 349 degrees. GPS course 147. Speed 0.0 knots. Left 158.
Yes, the software hasn't been changed all these years. The main thing I've been doing, and it's shown the nitty gritty in the photo trails, is trying to find out.
8 seconds. Target Alpha. 11
Yes, it's going on a bit interrupting, isn't it? Let me just switch it off for this,
102.
and I'll unplug the text-to-speech, which is only used for, and that's the text-to-speech cat. I'll switch it on now. Oh, there's a bit of wildlife there. Look, bee coming. Hello, Toadie. You want to help with this? You can't hold the camera for me, can you? What are you looking at now? Something or other. Yes. Yes, what I've been spending time on is these batteries here. If you do the simple arithmetic, they should be good without the solar panels working at all, in other words completely covered. Those should be capable of running the power, the total electronic system for probably 5 or 6 days at least. So it's not able to do that, and that's what I've been spending the time over the last few weeks, and of course in the process finding lots of silly mistakes, badly soldered joints or bad wiring, whatever. And of course the other important thing is occasionally it's the components that need fixing, and it's all done by measurement. Right, loads and loads of talking, so let's make sure that's in the dry. Right, that'll do. I'll come back and do that properly. I'll take that with me as well. Right, so yeah, I'll leave. Toadie, keep an eye on the boat, won't you? Yes, thought you would. Now here's another clip shot on the Friday and this is June's car, that's Samantha's car, and yes, promotion of a website that was a business many years ago, gpss.co.uk, and it's now hobbies like the robot boat and charitable causes. Now, I've not been able to drive for ages now because of the driver vehicle licensing agency, and as it happens today, a letter came in again. So that photo trail for earlier today, which is the last photo trail, has some of the detail about that. Anyhow, enough of that. Down here, by the way, the women will be going off to tennis for the second time today. Yeah, the catforts, Samantha's car, the camper, and before I go into the house I have to point out some warning signs. But first of all, the camper is what was used to take Snoopy's robot boat down to the coast for the last attempt on the Atlantic, and it's got battle damage which I would not want to be removed. Battle damage, June said Robin did it, Robin said the wall did it, but the wall is okay. Yes, other things here like the flatulent fairy that was yes, related to this, wasn't ready in time for Christmas to put up on one of the trees. Birds feed and stuff everywhere, including the bird feeder here, and I'll need to top that up soon. That's getting low. Yes, a lot of photographs, you see wildlife coming for that. And before I go into the house, I've got to point out some warning signs for health and safety reason. And what I have to add now, because people say, oh, you daren't say that, everything is of course just a joke, right? So first of all, yes, signs like this: closed circuit TV, hidden cameras inside and outside this house, sound and video is monitored in local houses and everywhere. There's one camera there. No trespassing, violators will be shot, survivors will be shot again. And across here, that's my study in there, and it says do not disturb. I'm disturbed enough already. In fact, there's another camera there. And this sign, one thing that I've been curious about is the automatic subtitles with translation, and the word NATO comes up differently for some reason. Don't know why that is, but doesn't matter. Perhaps this one will be different. Anyhow, there's this warning sign here. That is quite important because it's not just cameras. Home of mad ex-NATO scientist Robin Lovelock, beware of web cameras and water squirters loaded with water, paint, acid, DNA tracer or nerve agent. Robin would not be mad enough to test these, or would he? Just a joke, of course. Right, I think that's about it. That's the Ring camera, which is also picking up video and sound instead of it going up on the door. I think those are most of the toys. Yes, so now I think we're risk going in. And so coming in, there's one of the tennis things, and yeah, so just going into the kitchen now, and this is the immaculate kitchen with all the work I did with the temporary mirrors and things. And here's Samantha and June practically ready to go off to tennis.
Nick Cross has been forced to pull out a strip.
So they'll be off soon. And yeah, just a quick look. This is the games room, and it has got particularly untidy recently. I say recently, for ages, because of work on the robot boat. We get into the stage where the snooker table might have been cleared. But again, for those into property maintenance, the gardening work outside is easy. All this stuff has to be put in the right place and decide what stuff is going to be given away or thrown away. Yeah, peanuts. We get through a lot of those. And right, just going outside here now. As I say, I don't know, I might insert other clips in various places. Yes, there's the pond, drop down low. That's a job to be done, mostly for the winter months. That's the patio area, the barbecue there. You'll see all these things on the photo trails. So let's go into those long photo trails now. Tuesday the 1st of October 2024, starting with a summary of the photos shot on that day. Yes, that bright idea of a resistor in the servo lead was worked on, and that was one of the main activities, including documenting things through the day, those interested. Yes, and it basically didn't work, and it was all down to measuring voltages of the solar power supply. And yeah, part of the time I had to bring the boat in because it had been raining, so I could open the box and work on it. And of course documenting was very important. And yes, back end of the day, toadies prowling around, June's rustled up food. Sad news of course on the TV. And I take a walk down to the village, armed with my lead ball, to the Sunninghill Comrades Club. Enjoyed my time there, particularly in playing pool and conversations, and made my way back. And yes, it was getting pretty late by then, and yeah, checked out the tracker. Anybody could see where I was. Oh, Robin's spending time at the Comrades Club. Now he's got home. So that's the end of the summary. So now, as best I can, the commentary. So that was the latest idea, which is 5 ohms resistor in the path between the computer and the servo. And of course documentation is very important, particularly so people can look over my shoulder and see mistakes. And of course what's also interesting in who's visiting that particular page. And yes, a few words about John. All these things overlap, and yeah, so the nitty gritty of what we're working on, and weather of course is important because yeah, it looked as though it was raining and going to come on heavier, and for what I have to do, I have to bring it in. So yes, other activities of charging up and having that servo test rig, testing a servo to death, was going on. And of course that video was plugged in, which is the end of September video, which has a lot of the nitty gritty, and that included the time down there. And of course I found all the details about Michelle. Yeah, very interesting person, actor and lots of other things. And of course June was showing that. I'm hoping she'll be going down to the Commoners Club soon. Yeah, there's the rain radar and Met Office thing. Yeah, at that time, 5:30 in the evening or afternoon. And yeah, the boat's going to have to come inside. It's still raining a bit, and I've got to take the lid off. I don't want all the rain going inside, so I bring it into the games room. Yes, pinch some of June's tissue there for wiping it. Don't tell her though. Yeah, she's busy watching TV, so not watching. So right, give it a bit of a wipe off and measure the voltages, and that's probably with it all switched off, of course. Put things back where they belong for the moment. Oh, that was getting the screwdriver to take the lid off. And yes, so that is the 5 ohm resistor in series with a servo lead, and now it's connected directly, I think. I get mixed up. Anyhow, it's not working. So that was probably where I was checking it out, hoping that the batteries had charged up enough. And so checking the voltages again. Yeah, so basically I wrote it more clearly in that blog 11, but the servo was just sort of waggling about. Anyhow, it worked okay on that test rig, so I left that running and then reconnected things as per normal with the computer connected directly to the servo, and that was coming up to 6 o'clock. And yeah, voltages are fine on that. Yeah, so that's looking good. Coming up to 6 o'clock, I like to listen to the Radio 4 News. Gives important information concisely, just a little tranny radio. And yeah, listen to that, of course it's serious stuff. Yes. And yes, some of these things I've addressed publicly for years on the Grumpy page, including the more amusing involvement of the Royal Marines allegedly with Snoopy's robot boat. Initially pranks and then rescues. So looks like I can put the boat back out the front since the work's been done and basically leave it running, but back to the normal situation. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if it rains a little bit now in its sealed box. Oh yes, and update the documentation. That's very important. It's important for me, but of course anybody that's discussing or is an interest in the subject, then rather than other means, it's clearer to put the information on. And I'm being called for dinner. Yes, so I go into the kitchen. Yes, we all know what that news would have been, or related to. So take my food into the naughty corner, where I can watch the closed circuit TV, and I can see the boat is running because the rudder is moving backwards and forwards. And oh yes, reminded me that peanuts needed topping up, so I did that. Oh, there's Toadie, our guard cat, prowling around, And yes, that servo test rig is running okay. Same brand of servo and batch, I think, as I've put in the boat. And it explains there it's a Futaba brand. Again, all these things, they become obsolete is the word. Well, obsolete means there's no market demand for them. They might be a very good product, but if people aren't buying it, who's going to continue manufacturing it? Yeah, there's me going on. So checking voltages of the solar supply and the time, 5 to 9 in the evening, and that's all running okay. And yeah, June's watching tennis from China, just for a change. I take my little walk to go off down to the Comrades Club, but then I suddenly thought, oh, I've forgotten something. Yes, that lead-weighted cue ball. Oh yes, and there's Toadie. Yes, what are you up to, Toadie? Yeah, you're gonna hang around looking out the window, are you? In my naughty corner. Right, so I'm off. Everything's okay there, I think. Yes, got the cue ball and off down to the village. Yeah, the rain's okay, hardly any of it. Into the Comrades Club, have my 0% Peroni and meet some of the guys. Oh, I'm hoping June is going to come down and meet them. It's lovely interaction of people, and of course a bit of playing pool as well. So on my way back home now. Yeah, the roads are wet, but no big deal. And getting home, there's Snoopy's robot boat, and still running okay. And yes, there's, oh yes, put the ball back where I won't forget it, visible there. Check the tracker. Yes, anybody interested there? Yeah, Robin spent some time at the Comrades Club. Oh, look. Oh, he's home now, or walking home. Yes, just here. Oh yes, checking emails and things, and that was very useful. Richard into the nitty-gritty of the servos, and of course made me realise that wasn't clearly documented. It was tucked away in places, and of course the current thing is blog 11. Oh yes, I'd forgotten to do the page visit counts in my diary, so yeah, did that. So time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Wednesday the 2nd of October 2024, starting with a summary of the photos that follow. Yes, Toadie, guard cat, on duty overlooking the robot boat, and yes, quite a lot of the activity was related to that, checking voltages, dropping very low as you can see, and that was on 24/7 test. Yes, having a bit of relaxation, ice cream cornet, and watching the wildlife live on the closed circuit TV, and checking June's tracker. They're on their way back from doing shopping, and yes, that's where they're heading, and they've arrived. There's June's tracker, and I'm doing the closed circuit TV check for the night before. Yes, foxes at the front and the back, caught on the closed circuit TV after the peanuts. Oh, a phone call. Yes, from Roy, saying there was something coming up on the television. Yes, about those drifter boats, and of course that was stuff we got into years ago on the page called The School Boat. One of those came in, educational passages, make them for schools. So June's rustled up food for the late. I had a bit of trouble with some translation flags, but I think I've fixed those. And then I say, right, time to relax and go down to the Comrades Club. And yeah, in there. And what was lovely is I thought I'd be playing pool, but instead it was darts evening, and I met the same friends again as we have done recently. Yes, quite a crowd. I was hoping June would be able to join me, but she wasn't up for it. Yes, didn't have any of their food. That was for the darts teams. Yes, so back home, and yes, there's the robot boat, and into the house. June's watching the news, I think that is, on the telly. Oh yes, I hadn't done that, which is the Office of National Statistics graph of total deaths. Very useful for lots of things. Right, that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos and the order I shot them in, starting off with June watching the television, tennis of course, and Toadie with her. Hello Toadie. Tennis was from China. And right, so that was probably processing a video for the day before. And yeah, that's the study. And what else do we have? Just a few snaps around. Yeah, closed circuit TV. That's useful for checking all sorts of things, like when the robot boat stops working. It could be in the middle of the night. That's the test rig, checking a servo to death and checking voltages. So the voltages are very low, and that's because it's run flat overnight. So yes, stopped working. And what I found is that there's very little light, apart from the fact it's been cloudy, but also of course that oak tree means that that's one of the best positions in the garden, front or back, but it's still not going to get the sun all the time. Oh yes, I noticed that had been moved, which was that mossy brick with a PIR light on it. So I thought, oh, I wonder how that happened. So yes, just took the opportunity to take a picture of all the overgrown stuff, including grapevines and wisteria, all sorts of things. So then I looked at the closed circuit TV to find out what had moved that brick, and it was okay at that time, but then 10:43 I think that was, be it GMT, so 11:43 in the morning, it was a squirrel that had knocked it after the peanuts. So yes, annoying things, squirrels. So that needs to be put back in the right place. And so yes, I put it there, which I think is less likely to get knocked, but it should still do the same thing of be triggered by anything as small as even a mouse come in for the peanuts. It looks like that processing's finished, so I can put the commentary on the video for the day before, as I'm doing for this one. And that was a nice pictures coming through. One was from Paul and one was from a sister. And yeah, measuring the voltages again. Yes. So they're too low for the boat to be operating, so it's stopped. And of course it stops on hard rudder, which is a clue. There's Toadie relaxing. And yeah, sent out an email, in fact a message to a group of guys on the microtrain set, I think. And that page with details, I'd worked out it was probably my mate Mike. Oh yes, phone call from Catherine. And yes, there's Toadie on the back garden now, then in the kitchen with June. Yes, relaxing. I looked at the rain. Yeah, it looks like it's going to dry up. Blank screen there, not sure what that was. Then yeah, looking at the sources of whether there's going to be any rain shortly. Looking at the time, back out to the boat, check voltages again. Yeah, still bad. And of course a lot of it is due to the shade from that tree, but not many other alternatives in our garden. Yes, there's Toadie eating. And oh yes, I had to heat up some bread and rustle up food as best I could. And what else? Oh yes, yeah, communication with Lexi in Russia, who years ago came up with those bright ideas, so hopefully that message will get through, and it did, I can say that now. And yeah, there's the squirrels coming for the peanuts, enjoying my cornet while I'm watching that. It's coming up to 3 o'clock BST, and I could see that was the boat was working, listening to the Radio 4 news, which is obviously serious stuff. That looks like, yeah, the women off for shopping, I think that is. And June decided to go with Samantha. Yeah, checking voltages. They're coming up a bit now, because we've had a bit more light, including sunlight, and it's started to work again. So it wasn't very much. It seemed to be minutes rather than hours of sun needed to bring the batteries up enough to make the boat work. And there's checking some other times of things happening. And oh yes, Street View. Now for years that Street View's been around, our bit of the road hadn't been done, so I did a little bit of research on that road, repeated what I'd done years ago, and sent off a message, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, looks like the women are on their way back from shopping, and yeah, you can see the progress. In fact, anybody can if they go to the contact page. So yeah, past the tennis club, through South Ascot, and yeah, only a few minutes away from home. We're just there, 22 Armitage Court. There we are. They are arriving. So yeah, there's the tracker, and unloading the shopping. Even I helped a little bit with that, but I thought, no, Samantha has to learn how to do things here. So they're putting the stuff away in the right places, including the fridge. Oh, hard work that was, carrying a bag of shopping. Yes. Oh yes, I had a phone call come in, yes, from David, and he was able to join us for pub lunch the next day, which in fact was today. Oh yes, that was the public information on the lady that June chatted to on the phone that I'd met in the Commoners Club with her son and others. Yeah, still puzzling out what's been happening, and yeah, it's all down to measuring things. And the time there is 20 past 4. It looks as though it's, I'm guessing that means it's packed up again. Oh yeah, that's just a record of when things happened. Looking at the closed circuit TV, you can see the rudder, whether it's moving there. And yeah, 16:22 GMT, which is 17:22 British Standard Time. And that test rig testing a servo to death, the battery had run flat, so that was the case, and that 5 ohm resistance was put back in the box of bits, because now we just concentrate on testing the servo, and that's now running okay after changing the battery. Oh yes, the peanuts had run out, and the animals are getting through those at a tremendous rate. Oh yeah, a few snaps around the garden. You can see all that work that needs to be done. It's all a matter of priorities. Cutting grass is easy, but it takes time, even if it's only half an hour. Oh yes, that's just looking at what wildlife, and lots of pigeons come gobbling up the peanuts, and other birds, and squirrels of course as well. So they get through them at a tremendous rate, and yeah, so in no time at all those peanuts have gone. Yeah, what do you do about it? Buy more peanuts, I suppose. And yeah, it's getting later in the day now. Closed circuit TV check for the night before. Yes, foxes coming for peanuts at the front. Sometimes they're 2 at the same time. They get on with each other. They don't all get on with each other, because it's mostly family that do. There's one on the top bridge just outside the back. There's 2 of them there. Not all the visits, but just gives a flavour. For example, I didn't see any hedgehog come in there. I think that was a fox relaxing on the doormat watching another one waiting his turn. Through till camera switched to 0604 GMT to colour for the day. So I'm now going back from midnight. Same sort of pattern, foxes at the front and at the back, and me going out to mess around with the boat, and foxes. This is going backwards through time, putting peanuts out, camera switch at 17:37 GMT to black and white for the night. So that's that done. Oh yes, looking at that, an update. I googled up about how people remember resistor colour values and updated that on the blog. Right, here's that BBC South broadcast which I was tipped off about, and yeah, so here's a few pictures taken off the screen, and immediately I recognised those boats, the so-called drifter boats from educational passages in the United States, who sell them to schools, who then decorate them and launch them to drift across. And of course the beautiful thing is anybody can track them, and we've had several land on European shores, including Aberystwyth was one, but this was South Coast. Yeah, so that was the pictures from that broadcast, which were well worth watching, and thanks to Peter for alerting me to it. And here's the page, which was, well, you can see the dates on it, and there's the boat that washed up not far from Aberystwyth, and there's tracks of boats that have made that journey across the Atlantic. Yes, another few words with, that's probably Peter thanking him, and yeah, oh, that was whoever's checking who's visited. I saw, yeah, Richard, there's been some detailed discussion, and he had visited a little while ago. But the more interesting is, oh, that's another problem, is that there had been a visitor from Australia, a friend of mine, and I seem to be having a problem with those translation flags. So I put a message up to apologise, but then I found, if I copied the translation flags from the one of the COVID page, well, the COVID page that seems to be well trusted and working, and they just changed the name of the page, that seemed to work. So I think those translation flags are probably working now. Right, so now remembering the lead-weighted cue ball, it's time to have a little walk down to the village, past the robot boat, and yes, it's nice and dry, no rain to speak of, into the Comrades Club, enjoy my time there, and particularly with friends. Sorry if those snaps are that good, but there was a quick few pictures, and there was darts evening, so they're all playing darts, and there was food out there for the darts players, and so that was going on in the background, but didn't take many photos, but just enough to give a flavour. Yeah, brief visit to La Sorrentina just to check things out, and then walk back home, and there's the robot boat still sat there, and into the house. June's watching the news, I think that is now, and into the lounge. Yes, there I am on the tracker, anybody could have seen, that's it, on charge again, and that's where I'd been. Yeah, into the Comrades Club, and a very brief visit to La Sorrentina back here. And there's the COVID page. I thought, yes, I should have done it earlier in the day, but there's no mad urgency. The data comes out on a Wednesday, and my routine for years now has been to put that graph up on the website and print it out as well. So time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Thursday the 3rd of October 2024, starting with a summary of all the photos shot. Yes, Bentley on guard duty, probably keeping an eye on the robot boat, and Toadie does the same sort of thing. Yeah, so quite a lot of the photos are related to the robot boat, and it's basically seems to be doing what it should do, and it just needs a decent amount of sunshine to get the batteries charged up. And yeah, test rig's working well, testing a servo to death. Yeah, coming up to midday, and Stuart arrives on time to act as chauffeur. So in recent years, because I've not been allowed to drive, chauffeur's been kind enough to do that. Yes, yeah, enjoyable meal at the with David as well at the cricketers, and then back home, and yeah, I pop in for checking a few things. Yeah, the easy stuff is the tracker showed, yeah, anybody could see where I was, and then back home here. Of course, there's other stuff like emails that had come in. And there's Toadie relaxing with June, and then up to Richard's for coffee and biscuits, and that lasted quite a time, and anybody could see, crikey, after 6 o'clock when he got back from that, very enjoyable chats. And yeah, checking the boat voltages, and that's good at the moment, but very, very close to going flat because there's been hardly any light on it. Did a bit of work on related to the GPS logger, finding a solution. That was basically the third possibility. Oh yes, Comrades Club. I thought I'd go prepared with a lead-weighted cue ball down into the Comrades Club, and it was very quiet. Enjoyable time there, but there was hardly anybody. But that was a Thursday. Back home, and yes, there's the robot boat, and there's Toadie. He's in the hall, probably hoping for a mouse to come out or something, I don't know, or to leap out on somebody he ventures in. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with going out to the front to check the voltages on the boat. There we go, the left, the right, and the combined voltage, which goes into the computer, autopilot and rudder servo. That's all running okay. So what next? Oh yes, that's when the sun came out, and those times are in GMT, of course, and there's the pussycat. But it was because it had got whatever it was. I think it was a lot less than an hour of sun, and it was shaded sun. It worked. Anyhow, checking out things like the yes, those were the documentation of what I was messing around trying to find a solution for the GPS logger. So the two ones that I attempted to buy weren't yet working, and yeah, other activities that's working okay, which is the test rig. That model of servo is working, testing that to death. Of course, you check batteries at the same time. So there's Toadie. That's the picture I took of him in the garden, hoping for a mouse to come out. I would imagine he does spend a fair bit of time where mice have been seen, but I think they see Toadie first. Yes, so I topped up the pile of feed, mixture of peanuts, which are very popular, and went down the end, and yes, there's the gate into the second pond. Put a few peanuts there, and yet check the time, coming up to 11:45 British Standard Time. Yes, that rose will be trimmed back a bit later when June says it's okay. Yes, there's the gunra and the grass growing. Yes, that no work in the garden to speak of. And yeah, there's Toadie again. So I'm using that as an opportunity to go around and take a trail of photos to assist anybody that might help us in many different ways, and the most obvious way is handyman work. Right, yes. Email from David, who's joined us for pub lunch. Sorry, yes, pub lunch, but oh yes, so that's very close in terms of storage, because I'm processing a video, so very carefully I removed some folders that are all been backed up that are not needed, and fingers crossed that'll be alright. Yes, a lot of these things going on in parallel. Yes, so just after midday, and there's Stuart seen on the closed circuit TV, and so yeah, there's Bentley watching him. Bentley's from opposite. Yeah, and so we're off to the Cricketers, which is currently a beef eater. Interesting signs outside. And yeah, that was a gadget which I think Richard showed. That interesting. Was it Richard or was it Terry? No, it was Terry, I think. Yes. And yeah, 3 of us had curries. Oh yes, tips. Interesting topic of conversation. yes, I tend to give a cash tip in addition to anything added to the, whatever it is, 10% for service. Yes, so quick visit to the house, basically checking for emails and things like that, if in case, at least I had it in my mind even if I didn't reply. Yeah, anybody could see where I was. The contact page has my tracker, including, oh look, Robin's spending time at the cricketers at Bagshot, and then back home, just here. So up to, oh yeah, check the boat quick. That was a quick job because it was mostly just photographing the meter settings, and of course that's looking good. And yeah, put that back in the right place. Yeah, that test rig is working okay. So that's the untidy games room, and there's the kitchen with Toadie with Samantha. So now I'm walking over to Richard and Faye's for coffee and cake, and I didn't get back till 6:10, and that was a lovely time there. David wasn't able to join us, and Stuart left after an hour or two, but it continued with Richard and Terry and myself, and a little bit from Faye as well. Yeah, so checking the tracker. Yes, there you go. Anybody saying, oh, Robin spent a bit of time there? Or at least his tracker has. Don't forget, a tracker can be put on anything. Almost anything. Yes, so that's working again, but it's very close to going flat. And of course this is the main conclusion, which is that, yeah, I've talked, and it's all on the blog 11 page. There's putting a commentary on for the day before, Wednesday the 2nd, listening to the Radio 4 news, which of course is serious stuff. June's rustled up the food, which I take into the naughty corner in the lounge, and there live is a fox coming for the peanuts just outside the window. And there's the logger. I thought I'd find out a bit more about that, and in a case of consulting the documentation and using search mechanisms to look for a particular file. And then of course after looking at the documentation, that file is actually on the card that's inside the logger rather than in the support software. Anyhow, there's Toadie decided to come and watch what I was doing. And what are we doing there? Oh yeah, that's the contents of the file. So all it does is basically that package of hardware just passes the GPS data through to an SD card and records it. But it doesn't seem there's any logic to do more than record every 1 second's worth, which of course means that it wouldn't be suitable for the job of storing 6 months worth on that size of card. So yeah, that was a useful exercise. Down to the Comrades Club, I think. I'll take the weighted cue ball with me on the off chance of a bit of fun. I'm sometimes asked to loan the ball to somebody who's going to play to somebody who hasn't seen it. Into the Comrades Club. And yeah, very quiet evening as well. I did actually had a bit of practice on the table, and of course I checked the tracker, and I looked at the notice board, and I saw some events. So just for the shared memory, I made a note of things. Yeah, there was an interesting chat about things like wildlife seen on cameras and things. Yeah, and that's the relevant page that I showed them briefly, including crimes. So, walking back home now, and lovely evening it was, and into the house. There's Toadie in the hall on guard duty, as I mentioned before, and there's June and Samantha watching a bit of whatever it is, could have been news. And that's where I came from, Comrades Club, and that's where we got back to here, home. And yeah, checking who's visited the various pages, and there's a visit from Ascot, and that's probably Richard there, the third guy from the left. Yeah, so time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Friday the 4th of October 2024, starting with the summary of the photos shot. Toadie, that is, prowling around near the robot boat. Now, of course, this photo trail that follows only goes up until middle of the afternoon, but yes, involved in checking voltages on the boat. That's a activity that's been going on for ages now, and the power system basically is good. And that was taken at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or a little bit after. And yes, the sun is starting to come out more that day, and everything's working as it should. And I did a photo tour of the garden. Now this is earlier, and I did that photo tour. And yes, checking all sorts of things. So the photo tour give you a flavour of what the garden was like today, Friday the 4th of October. And yes, inside the laboratory and then the workshop area, snapshot, all work to be done. And then the letter that arrived from the DVLA. And yes, yeah, I must admit, it caused a bit of amusement, even though it's very inconvenient to say the least. And yes, so there's relevant information up on my website that's been there for years now, and occasionally I make an update to it. And of course the key thing is contacting the right people. Yes, put in the commentary on the day before, that was yesterday, June watching tennis from China, me relaxing with a cornet, them off for their first game of tennis, I think that was. It's easy to get confused, they might be getting ready for the second game of tennis today. Yeah, so that's the end of the summary. So now in the photos, the order they were shot, starting with a tour. Yeah, so that was whatever time that was, 11:45 by the look of it. Yeah, checking the sundial. I noticed a slightly to shift it a fraction. That was the small reference sundial. And yes, of course the usual problem of things screen the sun, and that's been an activity going on for some time now, the little project. Yes, everything very overgrown, so the grass needs cutting. One of the easy jobs of property maintenance. But a snapshot shows you what state it's in today. And yeah, going a bit further down the garden, and I must admit, with a bit of simple work like cutting grass and cutting back stuff, the garden's better than it has been for decades. Yeah, lots of little details, extra things added and modifications. Yeah, see how everything's overgrown? Yeah, terrifically. Well, you get that in the other photo trails as well. Yes, that's just snaps around the garden. There's the gunnerer, only one that survived. There's the old boat seat, found a place to stick that. I'm often told where to stick things. And yeah, that's the third pond, or the temporary pond for the bog garden. And that hawthorn tree didn't come up, but that one has. Yeah, that's been mentioned before. Hawthorn trees were a very good idea from June, and just can be unlucky on whether they take due to competition from other things. Yeah, so that's down the far end of the garden. Yeah, the compost heaps. And round, yeah, looking up now, yeah, you can see lovely blue sky. So we did get a bit of sun, which we haven't had for days. And of course that affected the robot boat. There's the junk heap, there's the shed. And not many tools there. I like the idea of them all being out in the open so anybody could see where they are. Which is much easier than knowing that something is tucked away. Yes, into the laboratory, just for a few pictures. That's going to be tidied up sometime. put things in the right place and know which ones to throw away or give away. Working my way round to the workshop area. Yes, Grumpy Old Men's Club sign there. And yeah, putting stuff in familiar places for myself at least. But anybody else could say, oh yeah, we've seen the photo trail before, so we know where things are going to be or where to look. Yeah, so still spare space to put extra things, and of course some stuff will get thrown away or moved to make it a little clearer. So that's into the workshop area. Snapshot as of today. That was into October. And yes, still taking a few shots around the back, looking through, and now I'm working my way back out. So I'm coming away from the workshop area out into the main part of the back garden, and then looking up towards the telescope and where people sometimes like to sit, and just recalled how overgrown stuff is. Now I'm working my way round past the greenhouse. That's June's property, that, and past the fig tree and past the back door, and where we keep things, at least where we know where they have to be. And of course that's where the main water tap comes out to different things, and where stuff is stored temporarily, around to where the dustbins are, behind that little hide that I made some time ago. And there's Toady. Hello Toady. He's prowling around. Working my way round to the front door, and oh yes, that's the boat testing pond, and there's the battle damage on the camper that you would have seen in the introduction. And there's the boat, and there's Toady prowling up, probably after some unfortunate mouse or bird or something. But then again, it might be to attack some intruder, you don't know. And yeah, showing little patches that, so there's a camera there with a mirror so that you can see round the corner, and that little patch there, there's certainly work needed to be done there when there's time for somebody to do it. I can't do everything. In fact, I can do very little, but I enjoy overseeing work. That's what I've done most of my life. Right, there's just a record of this moss starting to come up there. Right, back to the front door, and the signs that you would have seen. Yes, peanut feeders, warning signs. Yes, into the house again. Yes, there's June in the kitchen. There's the letter that has arrived from the DVLA. Yes. Yes, there's a matter of detail there that I saw immediately, but slower time. Yeah. And June's watching the tennis, so what do we do now? I think what we do is we go into lounge, look on the website. There you go, that's the front page. Yeah, you click on the press page and go to the so-called DVLA Funny Farm page. I quite like their cartoons. There's a lot of information in those, and that's why I usually write the text that's in the picture for those that are using automatic translation software. And yeah, just a few frames to give you a flavour of what's been in detail on that page for some time. And that's the people who visit it. Not many, which is all the more useful. You say, I wonder who that is. And could be anybody, of course, it's a public page. But anyhow, we'll see. Yes, that's the important cartoon to finish on, I think. So, yeah, tennis still going on. June's doing things in the kitchen. I go round here. Yes, like that's still processing, which is the video for the day before. Then I put a commentary on it. It's for the Thursday. This is for the Friday. Yeah, there's the tennis from China. And Oh yes, email exchange with my friend. No harm in anybody seeing what it is if they're bothered to stop. And that's it. That's where the last visit was for tennis. But there's 2 games of tennis today. They'll be going back to the same place. And yeah, that was an email from well, a couple of people, but the guys with the drifter boats. That was yesterday's news. And yeah, checking that video, playing it, yeah, that worked out okay. Quite happy with that. And what else is there? Don't forget, this is only up until, well, it was middle of the afternoon. Yeah, that little frog had fallen down, so I put it back in the right place. It hadn't fallen down, it had been pushed down, I expect, by animals like cats or foxes. Yeah, just a record of all the overgrown grapes and things. Look up at the sky, lovely blue sky. And what else have we got? Yes, the untidy games room. Yeah, get round to that sometime. It's all a matter of priorities. You can see that was 3:05 in the afternoon. And yeah, there's Alex's robot boat. That bright idea from Russia years ago. Friends everywhere. And yeah, back out to Snoopy's robot boat, check voltages. And yeah, it's had a little bit of sunlight, so they've climbed up. Probably saw that in the summary at the very beginning. Yeah, just coming up to 3:10. And yeah, there's the sunlight hitting the boat, and of course not getting as much as it would because there's those trees and things in the way. Yeah, you would have seen that stuff in the introduction. So there's the women getting ready for their second game of tennis, I should think. Yeah, just a note in the time. So that's it. That's the end of the photo trail. I warned you they will be long photo trails. So back into the house. We're going to drop into material that was shot some time ago, which is on 2 subjects: global warming and the prophetic words of James Lovelock, and my experiences with the DVLA, the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency. I shouldn't joke about it, but looks like the women are about to leave. Yes, they are. So yeah, you've got your little tracker with you, have you, dear?
Yeah.
Somewhere there?
Yeah.
Right, okay. And they're about to go off. So again, you respond to whatever's happening at the time. Some of my friends have gotten interested in filmmaking. I'm completely rubbish at it, as I am with photography. Yes, that's a little patch, which again is in the category of work to be done. You see all that's falling apart here. Quite a lot of property we've got here. It's just a case of using it properly. Right, so they're off.
Yes.
So you're going in Samantha's car then, are you? Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah.
Yes. Have you seen the pussycat?
No.
No, okay. Right, not to worry. He came in, went out again. He's not in his fort. Yeah. Okay, not to worry. Okay. So where were we? Oh, good, they left the door open. Right, we're now going to run into that material that was shot whenever it was, 18 months ago, which was on those 2 subjects: global warming and my experiences with the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency. And I think that material, yes, I always point that out, sorry, that's the expensive Renoir that we've got, and that's the little pocket camera is what I've been using. So I think that earlier material started at about here. Now what I put on the screen, because global warming is rare in itself, it's something that's been on my grumpy page for years. The remarkable James Lovelock who passed away on the 26th of July, his 103rd birthday. I'll read out what this says here. This has been on the Grumpy page for years, not long after the publication of his book, Revenge of Gaia. We can't stop global warming, but we may delay it by a few decades to give us time to prepare for its effects. Vast areas of the world, including as close as continental Europe, becoming arid desert. Shrinking of habitable areas of the planet to much smaller parts of the planet, closer to the poles. The Earth will then only be able to support a small fraction of its present population, and there will be a need for massive migration. Places like the UK will remain temperate a little longer, so be an attractive destination. We need all world governments to cooperate to prepare for this inevitability. Also to agree things like reduce use of fossil fuels to give us a few more decades to prepare. And then it goes on. The above is not a quote, but how I remember what James Lovelocks said in his book, The Revenge of Gaia, etc. That's been unchanged on my site for years. And right, well, the other thing I should mention, yes, retired, happy and spending that kid's inheritance, is for some time now I've not been able to drive due to, well, several mistakes at the DVLA. And what I will say is that I have new evidence of what happened inside the DVLA, which I won't publish yet because I'm still waiting for the reply to the letter which was delivered by recorded delivery to the head of the DVLA and also other people. So I'll put in at the end of this long video the video that's gone up, me talking about the DVLA, and basically in summary it says I don't want anybody to get into trouble, and that is definitely the case, and resigning is too easy. Problems need to be fixed. But quite honestly, that is a minor thing compared with all the other things that are going on in the world, not least wars, and of course what's in the background and very important is global warming. So let's run into that. Back in 2012.
Seen the launch of a transatlantic sailing attempt this morning in a model boat. Retired NATO scientist Robin Lovelock launched his Snoop Loop from Barton-on-Sea towards the Bahamas. It's already been tested over 5,000 miles on a lake in Berkshire. The model will be steered and tracked through a satellite system and by Snoopy, of course, and it should make the crossing in 6 months, if it survives, that is.
The most important thing of the lot, of course, is Snoopy the Viking, the skipper. I don't think he'd make it otherwise. We've also got another bit and piece here. This is a GPS logger that logs the position every 15 minutes. That was back in 2012. The guy that put this material together, including the live broadcast and what went up on the BBC website, is Ben Moore.
I just worry for Snoopy. Sport now and Hampshire.
Right, on to the next topic. Right. Now, I'm going to do this all in one take. All unrehearsed and unscripted, so sorry about that. What I'd like to happen, if anybody picks up on the DVLA story, is, as I say, nobody getting into trouble, and that's a genuine request, but when they find flaws in procedures where they don't cover certain things, be good if those are fixed. What I think would be useful for anybody looking at the DVLA and perhaps helping them is, first of all, their organisation chart showing the structure. Yes, it's well known who the head of the DVLA, remarkable woman, looking at her CV, and relevant to this story is the head of the health part. But it would be very useful to see, even if names aren't attached, obviously the names can be attached where they're public already, is how many people in each branch, how many people are reporting to how many. So a simple tree would help. I suggest that first of all. Then perhaps even more important is how many people working for the DVLA, even if you don't identify the individuals, are salaried by the DVLA excuse me, directly, as opposed to contracted through an agency or a business. That is very important, and we've seen what's been happening in places like the NHS for years. So that comes into the equation in terms of whether money is well spent, and of course the DVLA collects a lot of money, and there are probably other things as well, but as a starting point, I'd hope anybody that responds to this, I can't afford to get overloaded, we've got other things to do, many other things to do, and we'll be taking a holiday, that'll be public, yes. I'm tracked everywhere by different things, and in fact, if anybody's paranoid about it, anybody who's tracking somebody or looking at somebody's probably seen already. But at the end of the day, there's me wittering on, which is one of my main weaknesses since I was a little child. That's why if you put things up, clearly be careful what you put up, and often it can do some good. I'm now in the kitchen, and June's rustling up some food in the microwave for Samantha, and here's Samantha, and of course there's tennis on the television, just for a change. So, oh yes, point out, holidays in we're going off to Sicily again soon, and into the hall. Yes, nice expensive paintings here. Yep, expensive little pocket camera, not expensive. And through into the lounge and out to wrap up this video by saying, look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy what days we have. Yes, it's now middle of March 2024, and the font's changed quite a bit. I'll have to change the copyright statement at the end, but the message is the same. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy life while we can. Oh yeah, my hair's grown a bit since then.